How to Achieve Greatness Against All Odds. Exclusive footage from Whitney's story, The Victory Brief. From Newark streets to a voice that would change the world. Whitney Houston's story begins in Newark, New Jersey, a city that had seen better days, where economic decline and social challenges had created an environment where dreams seemed like luxuries that poor families could not afford. Born on August 9, 1963, to Cissy Houston, a renowned gospel singer, and John Russell Houston Jr., a former Army officer and businessman, Whitney was born into a family that understood the power of music and the possibility of transcending one's circumstances through talent and determination. But Whitney's early life was far from privileged, despite her mother's success in the music industry. Her parents' marriage was tumultuous, marked by infidelity and conflict that would eventually lead to their separation. Whitney witnessed her mother's struggles as a single parent, working tirelessly to support her children while maintaining her own career in music. She saw her mother's determination, her work ethic, and her refusal to allow circumstances to define her future. These early observations would shape Whitney's own approach to life and to her career. Growing up in Newark in the 1960s and 1970s meant growing up in a city that was struggling with poverty, crime, and racial tension. The neighborhood where Whitney lived was not a place of privilege or security. It was a place where violence was common, where drug addiction was rampant, and where many young people had already accepted the narrative that society had written for them, that they were destined for failure, that their circumstances defined their potential, and that dreaming of a better future was a waste of time. But Whitney's mother, Cissy Houston, was determined that her children would not accept this narrative. Cissy had achieved success in the music industry through her own talent and determination, and she was committed to passing on to her children the values and the work ethic that had made her success possible. She enrolled Whitney in the New Hope Baptist Church, where she sang in the gospel choir alongside her mother. It was in this church, surrounded by the powerful voices of the gospel tradition, that Whitney first discovered her own extraordinary vocal talent. Whitney's voice was remarkable from an early age. Even as a child, she possessed a vocal range and a vocal power that was extraordinary. But more than that, she possessed an emotional depth and an ability to connect with listeners that went far beyond technical proficiency. When Whitney sang, people listened. When she opened her mouth, something magical happened, a voice that seemed to contain within it all of the joy, all of the pain, all of the hope, and all of the struggle of the human experience. Growing up in the church, Whitney was exposed to the rich tradition of gospel music, a tradition that emphasized not simply technical excellence, but emotional authenticity and spiritual depth. Gospel music taught Whitney that singing was not simply about hitting the right notes or demonstrating vocal prowess. Rather, it was about connecting with something deeper, about expressing the full range of human emotion, and about using your voice to touch people's hearts and to inspire them to believe in something greater than themselves. Whitney's childhood was marked by challenges that would have broken the spirit of many children. She dealt with her parents' separation, with the instability that came from her mother's demanding career, and with the constant awareness of the poverty and violence that surrounded her neighborhood. She was bullied at school because of her light skin and her curly hair, because she was different from many of her peers, and because she seemed to have aspirations that went beyond what was considered realistic for a girl from her background. But Whitney refused to be defined by these challenges. She understood, even as a child, that her voice was a gift, and that this gift could be the vehicle through which she could transcend her circumstances and achieve something extraordinary. She practiced constantly, she studied music, and she performed whenever and wherever she could. She sang in the church choir, she performed at school events, and she began to develop a reputation as a young singer with an extraordinary voice and an extraordinary presence. By the time Whitney reached her teenage years, it was clear to everyone around her that she possessed something special. Her mother recognized her daughter's potential and began to guide her career, introducing her to music industry professionals and helping her develop her craft. But Cissy also understood something equally important, that technical excellence and vocal prowess were not enough. Whitney needed to develop as a person, to understand the world around her, and to develop the emotional depth and the authenticity that would allow her to connect with audiences on a profound level. Whitney's teenage years were spent developing not just as a singer, but as a person. She attended high school while simultaneously pursuing her music career, balancing the demands of education with the demands of the music industry. She was exposed to different genres of music, not just gospel, but also soul, R&B, and pop. She studied the great singers who had come before her, learning from their techniques and their approaches. And she began to develop her own artistic vision, her own understanding of what she wanted to express through her music. If you're inspired by stories of individuals who have overcome incredible odds to achieve greatness, and if you want to learn more about the remarkable life and career of Whitney Houston, subscribe to our channel now. We bring you exclusive narratives about the greatest singers in history and the journeys that led them to achieve extraordinary success. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of music lovers and history enthusiasts. Whitney Houston's professional career began in earnest in the early 1980s, when she was discovered by music executive Clive Davis, the legendary founder of Arista Records. Davis recognized immediately that Whitney possessed something extraordinary, not just a great voice, but a presence, a charisma, and an ability to connect with audiences that was rare and precious. He understood that Whitney had the potential to become one of the greatest singers in the history of popular music, and he committed himself to helping her achieve that potential. The early years of Whitney's career were marked by careful development and strategic positioning. Rather than rushing her into the spotlight, Davis worked with Whitney to develop her craft, to refine her technique, and to create a public image that would appeal to a broad audience. Whitney recorded her debut album in 1985, and it was an immediate commercial and critical success. The album featured the hit single "Greatest Love of All," a song that would become one of her signature songs and that would establish her as a major force in popular music. But Whitney's rise to stardom was not simply a matter of commercial success. Rather, it was a matter of artistic excellence and emotional authenticity. Whitney's voice was technically perfect. She could hit notes with precision. She could control her breath with remarkable skill, and she could execute complex vocal passages with ease. But what made her truly extraordinary was her ability to infuse her singing with emotional depth and authenticity. When Whitney sang, listeners could feel the emotion in her voice. They could sense her vulnerability, her strength, her joy, and her pain. The success of her debut album led to the release of her second album, Whitney, in 1987. This album was even more successful than her first, and it established Whitney as one of the biggest stars in the world. The album featured hit singles like "I Wanna Dance with Somebody," "Greatest Love of All," and "Didn't We Almost Have It All?" These songs showcased different facets of Whitney's artistry: her ability to deliver upbeat, energetic pop songs, her ability to sing powerful ballads, and her ability to connect with audiences on an emotional level. But with this extraordinary success came extraordinary pressure and expectation. Whitney was now one of the biggest stars in the world, and everyone had opinions about what she should sing, how she should sing it, and what direction her career should take. She was expected to maintain the level of success she had achieved, to continue to produce hit after hit, and to be a role model and an inspiration to millions of people around the world. Whitney's response to this pressure was to work even harder, to push herself to achieve even greater heights, and to continue to develop as an artist. She recorded the album, "I'm Your Baby Tonight," in 1990, which featured the hit single of the same name and which demonstrated her continued ability to produce commercially successful music. She performed at major events, including the Super Bowl in 1991, where her rendition of the national anthem became one of the most iconic performances in sports history. But beneath the surface of Whitney's extraordinary success, there were challenges and struggles that were not visible to the public. The pressure of maintaining her level of success was immense, and Whitney sometimes struggled with the weight of expectation that came with being one of the biggest stars in the world. She dealt with the constant scrutiny of the media, with invasive questions about her personal life, and with the pressure to maintain a public image that was perfect and flawless. Whitney also had to navigate the complexities of being a black woman in an industry that had historically been dominated by white men and that had often marginalized black artists. She faced racism and discrimination, both overt and subtle, from people who questioned her talent, who assumed that her success was undeserved, or who were uncomfortable with her prominence and her power. She had to develop strategies for dealing with these challenges while maintaining her professionalism and her commitment to her art. One of the most significant challenges that Whitney faced during this period was the pressure to conform to certain expectations about how a Black woman should look, sound, and behave. There were people in the industry who questioned whether her voice was Black enough, who suggested that she should sing more R&B and less pop, and who had opinions about her appearance and her style. Whitney had to navigate these pressures while remaining true to herself and to her artistic vision. Despite these challenges, Whitney continued to achieve extraordinary success. She won Grammy Awards, she sold millions of albums, and she became one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in popular music. She performed for presidents and dignitaries, she sang at major international events, and she used her platform to advocate for causes that she believed in. Her success was not simply a matter of commercial achievement. It was a matter of artistic excellence and of using her extraordinary talent to touch people's hearts and to inspire them. Whitney Houston's rise to stardom is a testament to the power of talent, determination, and authenticity. If you're moved by her extraordinary voice and if you recognize the remarkable achievement of her career, please like this video. Your support helps us continue to bring you these inspiring stories about the greatest artists in history. By the early 1990s, Whitney Houston had achieved a level of success that few artists in history had ever attained. She was one of the best-selling artists of all time. Her albums had sold millions of copies around the world, and she was recognized as one of the greatest singers in the history of popular music. She had won numerous Grammy Awards. She had performed at major international events, and she had become a cultural icon whose influence extended far beyond the world of music. In 1992, Whitney starred in the film The Bodyguard, alongside Kevin Costner. The film was a massive commercial success, and Whitney's performance demonstrated that her talents extended beyond music into acting. The soundtrack to the film, which featured Whitney's rendition of I Will Always Love You, became one of the best-selling albums of all time. The song itself became one of the most iconic songs in popular music history, and it showcased Whitney's ability to deliver a powerful, emotionally devastating vocal performance. I Will Always Love You was a defining moment in Whitney's career. The song demonstrated the full range of her vocal abilities, her ability to start with a delicate, intimate vocal delivery and to build to a powerful, soaring climax. The song became a global phenomenon, and it cemented Whitney's status as one of the greatest singers in the world. But it also represented something else. It represented the pinnacle of what Whitney could achieve as an artist, and it set a standard that would be difficult to maintain. The success of The Bodyguard and the soundtrack led to other film opportunities. Whitney appeared in films like Waiting to Exhale and The Preacher's Wife, and she continued to demonstrate her versatility as an entertainer. She won awards, she received critical acclaim, and she continued to be one of the biggest stars in the world. But the demands of maintaining this level of success were enormous, and they began to take a toll on Whitney's personal life and her well-being. During this period, Whitney married Bobby Brown, a successful R&B artist, in 1992. The marriage was tumultuous from the beginning, marked by conflict, infidelity, and substance abuse issues. Whitney's marriage to Bobby Brown would become one of the most significant challenges of her life, and it would have profound consequences for her career and her well-being. The relationship exposed Whitney to influences and situations that would ultimately contribute to her struggles with substance abuse. Despite the challenges in her personal life, Whitney continued to work and to perform. She recorded the album I'm Every Woman in 1997, which featured the hit single of the same name. She continued to perform at major events, and she continued to be recognized as one of the greatest singers in the world. But the strain of maintaining her career while dealing with personal challenges was becoming increasingly difficult. One of the most significant performances of this period was Whitney's rendition of the national anthem at the Super Bowl in 1991. This performance has been called one of the greatest national anthem performances in history, and it showcased Whitney's ability to deliver a powerful, emotionally moving vocal performance. The performance demonstrated her technical mastery, her emotional depth, and her ability to connect with audiences on a profound level. It also demonstrated her patriotism and her commitment to using her platform to inspire and to unite people. During the 1990s, Whitney also became increasingly involved in humanitarian work and in advocating for causes that she believed in. She worked with organizations focused on children's welfare, she advocated for education, and she used her platform to raise awareness about social issues. She understood that with her success and her influence came a responsibility to use those advantages to help others and to make a positive difference in the world. But despite her continued success and her humanitarian work, Whitney was struggling with challenges that were not visible to the public. The pressure of maintaining her level of success, the strain of her troubled marriage, and her increasing struggles with substance abuse were taking a toll on her physical and mental health. She was dealing with anxiety, depression, and the challenges that come with addiction. These struggles were not widely known to the public, but they were profoundly affecting her life and her well-being. Whitney Houston's career reached extraordinary heights during the 1990s, but she also faced significant personal challenges during this period. What do you think were the most important factors in her success during this era? How do you think her personal struggles affected her career and her well-being? Share your thoughts and perspectives in the comments below. We're interested in hearing your analysis of this complex and challenging period in Whitney's life. The early 2000s marked a significant turning point in Whitney Houston's life. Her struggles with substance abuse, which had been developing for years, became increasingly visible to the public. In 2002, Whitney appeared on the television show 2020 and gave an interview in which she acknowledged her struggles with drug use. She spoke openly about her addiction to cocaine and marijuana, and she discussed the impact that her addiction had on her life and her career. This interview was significant because it represented Whitney's willingness to be honest about her struggles and to seek help. Following this interview, Whitney entered a rehabilitation facility to address her addiction. She spoke about her commitment to recovery, and she expressed her determination to overcome her struggles and to reclaim her life. She spoke about her faith, about her belief in God, and about her understanding that recovery was possible with support and with a commitment to change. Her willingness to speak openly about her addiction and her recovery efforts inspired many people who were struggling with similar issues. But recovery from addiction is not a linear process, and Whitney's journey was marked by setbacks and challenges. She struggled to maintain her sobriety, and there were periods when she relapsed and returned to substance abuse. These struggles were painful and difficult, both for Whitney and for the people who loved her. They also had a significant impact on her career, as her ability to perform and to record new music was affected by her ongoing struggles with addiction. During this period, Whitney's voice also began to show signs of the toll that her addiction and her struggles had taken. Her vocal range, which had once been extraordinary, began to diminish. Her ability to hit the high notes that had been characteristic of her singing became more difficult. Her voice, which had once been powerful and soaring, sometimes sounded strained and damaged. These changes were heartbreaking for Whitney and for her fans, as they represented the physical consequences of her addiction and her struggles. Despite these challenges, Whitney continued to work and to perform. She recorded new music, she performed at major events, and she continued to be recognized as one of the greatest singers in the history of popular music. But her performances during this period were often marked by the visible struggle that she was experiencing. Fans could see that she was fighting, that she was dealing with challenges that went beyond the normal demands of performing, and that she was struggling to maintain the level of excellence that had characterized her career. Whitney's personal life also continued to be marked by challenges. Her marriage to Bobby Brown had ended in divorce in 2007, after years of conflict and struggle. The divorce was difficult and painful, and it represented the end of a relationship that had been marked by both love and significant challenges. Following the divorce, Whitney worked to rebuild her life and to focus on her recovery and her well-being. One of the most significant aspects of Whitney's struggle with addiction was her willingness to be honest about her challenges and to use her platform to help others who were struggling with similar issues. She spoke openly about the dangers of drug addiction, about the impact that addiction had on her life and her career, and about the importance of seeking help and support. Her honesty and her vulnerability inspired many people, and it demonstrated that even the most successful and talented individuals could struggle with addiction and could benefit from support and treatment. Whitney also worked to rebuild her relationship with her daughter, Bobby Christina, during this period. She was committed to being a good mother, and to providing her daughter with the love and support that she needed. She spoke about her regrets about the time that she had missed with her daughter because of her career and her struggles, and she worked to strengthen their relationship. During the later years of her life, Whitney also became increasingly focused on her faith and on her spiritual development. She spoke about her belief in God, about the importance of prayer and meditation, and about her understanding that recovery and healing were possible through faith and through a commitment to spiritual growth. She performed gospel music, which had been the foundation of her musical training, and she spoke about the importance of returning to her roots and to the music that had first inspired her. If you're moved by Whitney Houston's courage in facing her struggles with addiction and her commitment to recovery and spiritual growth, subscribe to our channel now. We bring you stories of individuals who have faced significant challenges and who have worked to overcome them with determination and faith. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of people who believe in the power of recovery and redemption. Whitney Houston passed away on February 11, 2012, at the age of 48. Her death was a shock to the world, and it prompted an outpouring of grief and reflection on her extraordinary life and career. In the days and weeks following her death, people around the world shared their memories of Whitney, spoke about the impact that her music had had on their lives, and reflected on her legacy as one of the greatest singers in the history of popular music. Whitney's legacy extends far beyond her commercial success or her awards and accolades. Rather, her legacy is rooted in the extraordinary impact that her voice and her artistry had on millions of people around the world. Her music touched people's hearts, inspired them to believe in themselves, and provided comfort and solace during difficult times. Her voice was a gift to the world, and it will continue to inspire and to move people for generations to come. One of the most significant aspects of Whitney's legacy is the way that she broke down barriers and opened doors for other Black artists, particularly Black women, in the music industry. She demonstrated that a Black woman could achieve the highest levels of success in popular music, that she could be a global superstar, and that she could use her platform to influence and to inspire people around the world. Her success paved the way for other Black artists to achieve similar levels of success, and it challenged the racial barriers that had historically limited opportunities for Black musicians. Whitney's legacy also includes her humanitarian work and her commitment to using her platform to help others. She worked with organizations focused on children's welfare, she advocated for education, and she used her voice to raise awareness about social issues. She understood that with her success and her influence came a responsibility to help others and to make a positive difference in the world. This commitment to humanitarian work was an important part of her identity and her legacy. Another significant aspect of Whitney's legacy is the way that she demonstrated the importance of authenticity and emotional depth in music. Whitney understood that technical excellence and vocal prowess were not enough, that what truly mattered was the ability to connect with listeners on an emotional level, to express genuine emotion through your voice, and to touch people's hearts. Her approach to singing, which emphasized emotional authenticity and spiritual depth, influenced countless other artists and helped to shape the direction of popular music. Whitney's struggle with addiction and her journey toward recovery also became an important part of her legacy. Her willingness to be honest about her struggles, to seek help, and to work toward recovery inspired many people who were struggling with similar issues. Her story demonstrated that addiction is a disease that can affect anyone, regardless of their success or their talent, and that recovery is possible with support, treatment, and a commitment to change. Her legacy includes the message that it is never too late to seek help and to work toward recovery. The impact of Whitney's voice continues to be felt in the years following her death. Her recordings continue to be listened to by millions of people around the world. Her performances continue to be watched and shared on social media. Young singers continue to study her technique and to be inspired by her artistry. Her influence on popular music and on popular culture remains profound and enduring. Whitney's story is ultimately a story about the power of talent, the importance of perseverance, and the possibility of achieving greatness against all odds. She was born in a city that was struggling with poverty and social challenges. She grew up in a family that was marked by conflict and instability. She faced racism and discrimination because of her race and her gender. She struggled with addiction and with the pressures that came with extraordinary success. But despite all of these challenges, she achieved something extraordinary. She became one of the greatest singers in the history of popular music, and she used her voice to touch millions of hearts and to inspire people around the world. Whitney's journey also demonstrates the importance of having people who believe in you and who support you. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was instrumental in recognizing her talent and in helping her develop her craft. Clive Davis, her mentor and record executive, believed in her potential and helped her achieve her dreams. Her family, her friends, and her fans provided her with support and encouragement throughout her life. Whitney understood that her success was not simply the result of her own efforts, but was built on the foundation of the love and support of the people around her. As we reflect on Whitney Houston's life and legacy, we are reminded of the power of the human voice, the importance of authenticity and emotional depth, and the possibility of achieving greatness even in the face of significant obstacles. We are reminded that talent is a gift, but that it must be developed and nurtured. We are reminded that success comes with challenges and responsibilities, and that the most meaningful form of success is one that involves helping others and making a positive difference in the world. And we are reminded that even those who achieve the highest levels of success can struggle with challenges and obstacles, and that seeking help and support is a sign of strength, not weakness. Whitney Houston's voice will continue to echo through the years, inspiring new generations of singers and touching the hearts of millions of people around the world. Her legacy is one of extraordinary talent, remarkable perseverance, and a commitment to using her gifts to help others and to make the world a better place. She achieved greatness against all odds, and in doing so, she demonstrated what is possible when talent, determination, faith, and love come together. Whitney Houston's life and career represent one of the greatest achievements in the history of popular music. If you've been moved by her story and if you recognize the extraordinary impact that her voice and her artistry had on the world, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. What was your favorite Whitney Houston song? How did her music impact your life? What do you think is the most important lesson from her remarkable journey? Subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more compelling narratives about the greatest artists in history and the journeys that led them to achieve extraordinary success. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to your engagement and your perspectives on the remarkable life and legacy of Whitney Houston, a voice that changed the world.